Hello, second graders. It is time for our read aloud session of the day. And today we're going to read, this is called Watching in the Wild by Sharnan Simon. It is about Jane Goodall. Now, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Jane Goodall, but last year, as the elementary school, we went to the Alberta Bear Theater in Billings. It was in the spring, and watched a play. And there were all the schools in Billings and schools in the area showed up. And the play was about Jane Goodall. And she worked with chimpanzees. And I'm going to read to you the short story about that, about Jane Goodall. And then just discuss a little bit about how, as young people, we can make a difference in the world just by doing things in our local community. So just want to talk about that afterwards, but I will begin with the story, and then on the email I sent, there's a video link, very short, it's about 3.5 minutes, about Jane Goodall and what she has done, not only with just spending time doing research with the chimpanzees, but how she has made a difference trying to make the world a better place, and how we as young people can kind of follow that example and do it just locally in our communities. So I'm going to begin with the story. In the meantime, I do have this. It's the coloring sheet. It's a picture of a chimpanzee. As opposed to just calling them a monkey, they are actually chimpanzees. This is a nonfiction story, so it's true. Okay, Watching in the Wild. Jane Goodall knows how to watch. For more than 40 years, she has watched a group of chimpanzees in Gombe National Park in Africa. What she has seen has changed the way scientists think about animals and people. Travels to Africa. Jane was 26 years old when she first went to Gombe. It was 1960 and no one had ever studied chimpanzees in the wild. Jane's plan was simple. She would travel to Africa, find some chimpanzees. Then she would sit quietly and watch them go about their lives. When she arrived at Gombe, Jane could hear chimpanzees calling to each other across the valleys. She found half-eaten fruits under trees where they had fed, but she didn't see the chimpanzees themselves. They were shy. Whenever Jane came close, they ran away. So here we have a picture. Jane Goodall. She's not 26 in this picture. In the video, you'll see some of the older footage where she is at a young 26. That's Gombe, Africa. Jane was discouraged, but she didn't give up. If the chimpanzees didn't want her to come close, she would watch for them from a distance. Every day she woke up before dawn. She put on clothes that blended in with the jungle and climbed to the top of a high, rocky ledge. Using binoculars, she sat and looked at chimpanzees hour after hour after hour. Other people might have been bored. Not Jane. She loved watching the chimpanzees feeding in the fig trees and drinking from streams. She saw how they greeted each other with hugs and kisses. She smiled at the baby chimps who perched on their mothers' backs or sat cradled in their laps. Jane took notes on everything she saw. She wrote about how at night each chimp made a cozy nest in the treetops. Jane watched the chimps bend branches and tuck in smaller twigs. She saw mothers curl up with their babies and just sit up to make a pillow from a handful of leaves. When the chimps left their nest in the morning, Jane climbed up to try them out for herself. making new friends. Slowly, the chimpanzees became used to Jane. They let her come closer and closer. Jane began naming the chimps she recognized. David Graybeard had a silvery beard and a calm manner. Old Flo was ugly, with a big nose and raggedy ears, but she was a wonderful mother. Mr. McGregor reminded Jane of the gardener in The Tale of Peter Rabbit. At the time, scientists thought that animals being studied should be given numbers, not names. But Jane didn't agree. She saw that chimpanzees had real personalities. It made sense to give them real names. Today, many scientists name the animals they study in the wild. Here it says a chimpanzee and her baby. And the baby's riding on her back. Observing tool use. One day, Jane saw something really exciting. David Graybeard was sitting by a red earth termite mound. He poked a long grass stem into the hole in the mound. Then he pulled the stem out and ate the crunchy termites that had clung to it. Jane was amazed. David Graybeard was using the grass stem as a tool. Until then, scientists thought that only people used tools. Jane saw the chimps using other tools too. Once a big brother chimp grabbed a handful of leaves to wipe his little brother's messy nose. Many times, chimps used crumpled leaves as sponges to soak up water to drink from hollow logs. And here's a picture of Flo fishes for termites while her young son watches and learns. And there they're putting the stem of grass in the hole. Telling her story. Over the next 40 years, Jane wrote books about her exciting discoveries. She learned that chimpanzees live in close family groups and make friendships that last a lifetime. They hunt and teach their children. They can be happy or sad, angry or afraid. And it all started with one woman who knew how to sit quietly and watch them carefully. And across the top we have a timeline. In 1934, Jane is born. Her birthday is actually April 3rd. We kind of missed that one. In 1942, Jane is given a book about a doctor who goes to Africa to help monkeys. So she would have been 8 years old. In 1960, Jane arrives in Gombe, Africa, and I think the book said she was 26. In 1961, Jane first sees chimps using tools. In 1977, Jane founds the Jane Goodall Institute, which helps protect chimps and the forests. And in 1986, Jane begins to tell people around the world about the needs of chimps. And it's very short. That's it about Jane Goodall. So I encourage you to watch the video that I have right below this video of me reading. It's about Jane Goodall and how we can all make a difference. Make a difference in the environment, in the world. Whether mom and dad are Democrat or Republican, wouldn't we rather have clean rivers to fish in, clean lakes to swim in and play in? It doesn't matter what political party you are for. And we can always make a difference by just picking up litter, cleaning up things. I drive about a mile of gravel every day up to my house. And very often I stop and pick up garbage alongside the road. There's not a lot of traffic on the road, so I pick up beer cans and pop cans and paper bags and plastic cups and just throw them in my back of my truck and throw them in the garbage when I get home. So little things like that, we can all try and make a difference. So hope you're all well. And after this, we'll get to our handwriting.